Thank you everybody for joining us today. We've got a pretty unique opportunity this afternoon with Jake Doran. So Jake Doran's our ambassador, but he's also a pretty quick lad on the track as well. So he's one of our hopefuls for the Olympics. Being a 20-year-old too in the sprinting space is pretty unique. And I feel very blessed that we've got this opportunity to talk to Jake and about his experience and being in the trenches, and actually sort of as he's training to actually give us an athlete's mindset on A, what it takes to get there, and B, what it takes to compete. So it's not only just the training, it's you've got to be at your top peak of performance every time you run. So it doesn't matter whether you're qualifying or whether you're in a final, you've got to be up for that every moment. So mindset, I think in any sport, actually in any facet of life, I think is a massive thing to be doing. So, and to hear someone, Jake, at his pretty ripe young age, who seems to have grasped a lot of this, is very blessed and very honoured to do it. So before much more ado, I might just hand it over to Jake, and he can run through us how he actually sort of gets into the mood and the mindset that's taking him to where he is, and hopefully even further beyond. So let's go, Jake. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Glenn. I appreciate the warm welcome. And yes, as you said, we're going to be diving straight into a chat about mindset today. We had a chat a few weeks ago, wondering what we wanted to touch on in this iteration of our podcast series, and it was mindset is what we delved on, and we really thought that it was a deep pool of content that we could really investigate. And I've definitely been a proponent for mindset coaching, utilizing my mindset as a tool. And it's been a really, like you said, it's been a massive part of my successes so far, and, getting me out of some pitfalls as well. And I think, mindset is a massive, as I said, tool to utilize in all facets of life, and not just sport. I think it's a great thing to touch on and a great thing to draw from, but a lot of the teachings and a lot of the techniques used to really build on that mindset and utilize that mindset is effective in all parts of life, not just sport. And whether that's in personal relationships, whether that's in the corporate world, the professional world, the sporting world, the creative world, mindset will get you a long way. And often it's quite often discounted as sport being a purely physical avenue to investigate and endeavor upon. But realistically, I think I've definitely, in my experiences, learned that your mindset is just as important, if not more important. And it's something that you can really train. It's something you can really build upon. And it's something that you can really lean on your support team for. And I think, a lot of people do discount their mindset and their mental health, and they don't give themselves enough time of day to work on it and make sure that they're on the right track and using that mindset as a tool, like I said. And what this talk hopefully will get across is ways in which you can develop that mindset, ways in which you can polish that mindset to a point, and ways in which you can finally use that mindset as a tool to get better outcomes from whatever you're endeavoring upon, whether that be sport, whether that be elite sport, whether that be your day-to-day happenings, your conversations with co-workers, what you're going on with projects at uni or projects at work. It really is that broad and that multifaceted a tool to use. So I definitely enjoy trying to better myself between the years, and I hope that in listening to me and then whatever my experiences I have, you can learn and use it in your own lives and be better for it. So in talking to Glenn, I was lucky enough to put together some notes and just some talking points for a performance mindset. And I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of professionals in that kind of space, and psychology is often a very taboo subject and not often utilized by a lot of people. And in sport, we try and look in towards sport psychology and performance psychology. So it's more of a way of training our mentality and training our mental fitness rather than trying to fix problems that we have. So, we really lean on that support network for growth, for building, not just to plaster over some bad times and bad things that we've encountered. So it's really a muscle between the years that you can really start to train and start to flex, and it can really dig you out of situations and better situations when you encounter them. So I think the main thing For me personally, looking at mindset, and the first thing that came to my mind when thinking, okay, what do I want to really get across when talking about mindset is motivation and motivating factors in what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it especially. I think that's a huge thing. And given it's the new year, Happy New Year, everyone. I think motivation is a big thing that often gets spouted on January 1st. And you often get the heroes that go to the gym for 3 days after New Year's Eve and they want to change their lives overnight. And that's their motivation going to the new year, new me type thought process. But often is the case that it isn't sustainable and they aren't able to really follow that prompt and follow through on that plan to better themselves. And a lot of that isn't their ability to do so. A lot of that is their mindset and their inability to really cultivate that motivation and consistency in doing so. So my biggest tips when it comes to motivation specifically is understanding why you're starting something, really going back to the bare bone foundations and understanding, okay, why am I endeavoring on this process? Why am I starting this thing? What is the reasoning behind the beginning, middle, and end of this process I'm endeavoring upon? And once you've really been able to unpack that and understand the why of your motivating factor and the why you're beginning that process, it's a lot easier to draw back onto that original question and that original motivating factor of the original why. So, like as I use that as an example, going to the gym on New Year's, why I want to better myself physically, become a healthy, understanding that why to a T personally, you can really recall upon and go back to and understand, okay, this is why I'm motivated to do that on January 1st. This is why I'm now motivated to do that on January 15th, January 21st today, February 20th or whatever. You're continuing on, that's your why. And again, really unpacking that motivation factor. You got to understand that, luck is a beautiful thing. Often things can happen out of the blue and that's all well and good, but you've really got to make your own destiny. And again, that comes down to a mindset and it comes down to motivating yourself to do the work. A lot of the time, and I know personally, a lot of my successes have come down to the work being done, and a lot of my peers' successes have come down to the work being done. And I'm, often I'd be lucky to find an athlete that is on the world-class stage that continues to use luck as their motivating factor and their driving factor. And realistically, that motivation has to deliver you upon a work ethic. And that goes back to understanding what gets you out of bed to do this thing, what gets you out of bed to go to work, play sport, train really hard, X, Y, Z. What gets you there? And then why am I working extra hard while I'm there? I came from the track this afternoon and I put in that extra, 10%. It's hot at the moment. We've just had some really big rains and now it's really humid. That makes it all the more difficult to train in the sun. But, I've got to really put in that extra bit of work if I want to qualify for the Olympics this year, if I want to maintain that world-class status as an athlete. So they're my whys. And while I'm working away from the public, away from, all my peers, that's why I'm doing the work. And that comes back to motivation. And then that comes back to your mindset and growing that mindset. Moreover from that, why you keep going is another key factor of motivation. Your motivating factors, getting out of bed is all well and good. Doing the work is all well and good, but continuing to do so and being consistent is just as motivating and is just as strong a mindset as the other two things. Nothing is ever linear. Nothing is ever easy. Nothing is ever comes to you without work. There's always pitfalls, like I said, and mindset is something that can really dig you out of those pitfalls. And it definitely has for me in the past. A lot of my hardest work has been when I'm at the worst part of my career, when I'm injured, when my form has struggled, when coronavirus knocks races off and postpones Olympics, all those factors. And I'm not alone in those. Those things can happen in all walks of life, in everybody's lives, and to a lot of people sitting here listening today. So why you keep going is another massive thing to understand when you're unpacking your motivation. If you can really figure out the why, then there's no reason why you won't keep going. And if it's a strong enough motivating factor, then your mindset is fit. and you can really start to unpack the other points that I really want to touch on. So yeah, Glenn, that is my little tidbit for motivation as part of your mindset.
Excellent, mate. Do you what sort of just for your why, mate? Just what sort of other sort of outside factors do you use just to keep that in tune, mate?
Yeah, obviously, motivation, getting out of bed, keeping going isn't a purely mental thing. I understand very much so. Being tired, being busy, a lot of external factors can really hit you hard, and that's when that's the case. It makes things difficult. You can't just blame your mindset for not being consistent with things. A lot of things can take you by surprise, and yeah, you do need that extra little bit of boost. And I've been lucky enough to have that support network. Have you guys with Young Living, have products from Young Living, other products I use in my day-to-day life that keep me consistent, keep me able to go down and train every day, and give me that extra little bit of foreign motivation, I might say. A little bit more energy, a boost of energy can really help. And again, we've talked in the past about different health factors, different diet factors. When it comes down to energy levels and getting things done and being consistent, that's not just your motivating factors. And we've spoken in the past about different products, especially that can really help you get out of bed, get doing something. Everyone's different, and everyone has, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about this company, especially, is it has a product for pretty much everyone, pretty much every feeling, and pretty much every outcome. So if you're seeking to do something, training your mindset is great. Products with Young Living can help that facilitate that process. And if you keep working at it and utilizing these tools that you're able to accrue, then you'll no doubt be there in the end.
That's cool, mate. Yeah, much appreciated. Next one, mate, dedication. So dedication to what you're doing, obviously, like I say, the Olympics is only every 4 years. And to have that long-term sort of goal, like to keep training day after day, week after week for one shot at it in 4 years, would take a lot of dedication, mate. So how do you approach that one, bud?
Yeah, dedication is a great one. I touched a little bit there on why you keep going, and that's part of your motivation. But being dedicated is a bit of more of a in-depth approach at that. And like you said, I'm in a particular position where I train every day, multiple hours a day for 4 years for a 10-second race at the Olympics, and that's a weird trade-off. And the transactional part of that, it doesn't seem very fair, but it just goes to show how dedicated myself and my fellow athletes are in making sure that the games go ahead and we perform well at the games, and we're giving ourselves the best case scenario that we're going to perform well at the Olympics. And that comes down in part to dedication, and being dedicated to a cause. Again, it doesn't really happen externally. You can be told to do something or instructed to do something or forced to do something, but that doesn't mean you're dedicated to doing it. Being dedicated to doing it is a mixture of being motivated to do so, understanding your why, and then executing that work in the best way you can, giving your best in everything that you do. And that's realistically the best way you're going to get the best outcomes for yourself. So I've written down my notes for dedication is executing the prescribed work. So, for me, I have a coach. I have high performance coaches above him. I have strength coaches, psychologists, nutritionists. They prescribe me things, but realistically, at the end of the day, being an individual athlete, all my results, all my competitions, everything I do in training, in competition, whatever, is down to myself. And doing the actual prescribed work. And that's required me to be dedicated to what my coaches are telling me and instructing me to do to become a better athlete. And, I've been dedicated to that cause, and that's really delivered me into the fortunate position I'm in today. So, I'm lucky to be in that position, and I often attribute a lot of my success to my team. But personally, that success would be due to my dedication to what they prescribe me. So, under that, I've written, doing what needs to be done. Again, a lot of the time you can understand what you need to do. You can often be motivated what you need to do, but getting it done is different to that. You know, you can be on the couch and be motivated to change yourself, or have been told by PT or your coach or your boss, this is what you need to be doing, but actually doing it is different. And that's being dedicated to it. So I would assume everybody here has often, you know, put off doing something, procrastinated doing something, not wanted to do it. But once it's done, and once you've got stuck in and really gritted your teeth and done it, the after effect is often euphoric. You know, a lot of endorphins are released. You feel great that it's accomplished. And again, that is a positive mindset outcome of a dedicated act. So you've been dedicated to what's been prescribed, and you've understood what's needed to be done. You've then taken that next step. You've executed what's needed to be done. You've been dedicated throughout that process, done it with the best of your ability. And once it's done, complete, and you know that you've done that to the best of your ability, you're content with it. You're happy with it. You're going, relax, beautiful. That's a great mindset to be in. And that is often achieved through understanding that your goals are achieved through doing the work and not through luck. Like I said before, you know, often it's required to grit your teeth and get it done. Again, luck is a beautiful thing. I often wish I had a bit more luck, but you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. A lot of your destiny is built personally. You know, you can forge your own destiny. I'm a big proponent for that. And that comes down to being dedicated to your cause. And I remember speaking with a sports psychologist probably a good 12 months ago now. You know, I was in a bit of a rut of form, but I know I'd done the work. It was a bit of a weird feeling to be good in training and know you're fast, but just, you know, not being able to execute on the day. And I was dedicated. I didn't know what was happening. And we're talking about hope. You know, I was hoping to do well on comp days, knowing that I was confident enough to go into it, but I was still hoping. And the sports psychologist said to me, well, hope is a subconscious acceptance of personal disbelief. You know, if you're hoping to do something, if you're hoping something to occur, then you've already subconsciously accepted that it's most probably not going to happen. And that whether that be through you not being dedicated to it, or whether that be through external factors, unfortunately, if you're hoping for something, then you've accepted that it's not going to be the case. And, you know, I think my biggest tip for being dedicated is to just make sure that it happens. Don't hope, be confident in your ability, and get it done. And that kind of mindset will deliver you to the outcomes you so desire. So yeah, that's my little bit on determination.
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. Just, your dedication's obviously paying off. One question for mine. You're top 50 in the world at the moment in the 100-metre scene. How many 20-year-olds have been in the top 50 in the recent history?
Oh, it wouldn't be that you know, that many. I think I'm obviously, being the Australian and Oceania junior record holder, I'm one of the fastest teenagers of all time internationally. So I think, you know, I don't know my exact placing, but yeah, like I said, currently I'd be one of the youngest guys in that top 50 eligible for the Olympics. I think if I go to Tokyo this year, when it happens, I'll still just sneak under being the youngest Australian in the 100 meters in recent times, definitely since the 2000 Olympics. And so, yeah, you know, I'm definitely amongst the young guns. I assume there'd be a few couple young guys from Jamaica, America, you know, the usual culprits that you know, become really good real young. But you know, I've been very fortunate to have gotten as good as I am, as young as I am. In Europe, they have an under 23s championships, because up until about 23, 24, you're still developing as an athlete. And over there, yeah, there's realistically not that many guys at this current ability level. And you know, that's not just me. I think the other two guys, Jack and Rowan, you know, they're 22, 23. So they're still really young in the grand scheme of things as well. So, you know, we have a really young crop of guys, and I've been really blessed to have been in the senior team for 2 years now. So coming in as young as I was a massive wake-up call, and I had to grow up and mature really quickly, and, you know, really understand, again, my performance mindset and work on that apart away from the track, because physically and ability-wise, I was fine, but I was a bit immature compared to a lot of the grizzled veterans of the sport. So yeah, that's been my journey.
Oh, excellent, mate. Sounds fantastic. And you're doing a good job at the moment, mate. I'll give you the tip. So that's good. Determination, mate, because you've definitely had your fair share, like all sporting people. You've shared with us, you've stress fractures, hamstrings, and then to keep on pushing past that, to have the belief to actually keep going, and the determination. So determination and persistence, mate. What's your keys to that one, mate?
Yeah, that's a nice caveat into that. Determination and persistence is a great one. I think, a lot of people can, often discount themselves or give themselves excuses or whatever, and not be as determined to a cause that they might think they are. And that comes down a lot in part to, again, subconscious hoping, subconscious excuses, and that can be disappointing at times. And like you said, I do give myself a pat on the back. I think I've been very determined and persistent throughout my relatively short career thus far. I think I've been, again, I'd like some more luck, but I think I've been quite unlucky in the past when it comes to injuries. I've suffered some pretty shocking injuries as a sprinter, yet I'm still, like you said, top 50 in the world, vying for that Australian Olympic spot. So I do give myself a lot of props when it comes to being determined. And, like I said, I was out there today training. I was out there yesterday training. And that's me being determined and persistent enough to go through COVID. I trained all through COVID. I've been lucky enough to have the longest off season of my life so far, due in fact to COVID, knocking the Olympics to this year. So I was determined and persistent through that whole process. And again, unfortunately, it knocks you down, and you go, oh, well, this is a lull in my career. This is a trough. Things can seem very overwhelming, and at times, you might consider giving up, but being determined and persistent has been a massive part of my career. Like I was just touching on, lows, nothing's ever linear, nothing's ever lucky, nothing's ever, goes perfectly to plan, and lows are just as common as highs in the sport. Like I just said before, I'm the continental junior record holder, so I'm the fastest teenager our country's ever produced, yet I've broken my back and torn both of my hamstrings in the past 3 years. So, just as high as I've had just as low a low. And, it's actually made me appreciate both highs and lows that whole bunch more. I've been able to experience both of them, and I really think that's been unlocked a lot of my own personal mindset, and I've been able to understand myself a lot better going through that kind of stuff. And I've really used those lows as opportunities to improve. And that's been me accepting the fact that stuff happens, and I'm in that low, and I've got to be persistent if I want to not let those dreams slip away. And so I worked hard, and even harder when times were tough, when they didn't go my way. And I personally feel that a lot of professional athletes, a lot of professional stars in sport, a lot of high up corporate individuals, basically anyone that wants to be successful in life, all of them have really utilized this mindset tool in being persistent. It's drilled into you as kids to, show persistence, be determined, X, Y, Z. But really being able to grit your teeth and put in the hard work when things aren't going great, that's what separates you from the rest. And that's what really shows your character, shows that you can be persistent and determined, and, brings you out of that shell. And when you're able to work when things aren't going as well as usual, then you're able to work whenever, and you're consistent. And that strong mentality puts you above the rest, because the guys and girls that aren't able to be persistent and let the lows get to them, give themselves a break when things aren't going great, and or give up or whatever. They're not working. They're not putting in the hard yards when you were. So that's really what sets you apart, and that's what creates the greats, I think, in their so-called fields. But and I've written down here one of the things I've really experienced, given that I've had some long injuries. I think my back took me a good 6 to 9 months on the sidelines, like definitely a good 5-6 months, pretty much sitting on the couch all day, every day, waiting for my back to heal. I was lucky enough not to be in a mold into a brace. But I've written down, people only see or are interested in the success stories or the good times. And when those are happening, they're your best friend, they're talking to you, they're interested in what you have to say. They're interested in what you've got going on. But as soon as those hard times hit, a lot of those guys on the fringes, they disappear, and that can also hit hard. And, being persistent through that, given that your support bubble may not be as broad as you might once thought, that's important. And I think, that really teaches you a lot about yourself. And it really teaches you a lot about those that you trust within your bubble. And I think that's a really, really key tip, because success stories are forged behind the scenes. Like I just said, I think, again, moreover from me being a sprinter, Usain Bolt, 9 Olympic gold medals, was only sprinting for 2 minutes all up at the Olympics. But the amount of training and the amount of hard work he put in behind the scenes that nobody saw. I mean, I haven't even seen that much work he's done, what sessions he was doing every single day behind the scenes to become the global superstar that he was. And that was him being determined to become the fastest man of all time. And that was him being persistent enough when he was injured, or when things didn't go his way. So yeah, that's definitely a massive part. And I think I've really grown off the fact that I've understood that injuries, unfortunate events, bad runs of form, that they're an opportunity to come out the other side even better than before. And, personally, like I say, highs and lows, I broke that Australian record off only 2-3 months of training after I broke my back. Probably the lowest point in my life was on that couch in bed, not doing much because my back was broken. And a lot of my friends had moved on and XYZ, but I was able to come out the other side and 2 months after getting the all clear, go and break the Australian record. And that was a massive moment for me, and really taught me a lesson that, okay, I, came out the other side stronger than I, realistically many people might have given me props to. So yeah, that was my part of my story. And I really look to that in a lot of dark times. And I really hope when I'm talking to people about this, that they take that on board. And when they encounter problems like that they're able to just, shrug it off and get back to work, be persistent, be determined. And that mindset is a very strong mindset. And if you can get through those troughs behind the scenes, when nobody's looking and things aren't going as well, then that's a really elite mindset to have. And that is multifaceted for sure.
That's excellent, mate. Yeah, I really like how you are. The lows are just as common as the highs, and to be able to accept the lows is just a normal part of life, to understand and work through them, I think is massively important. So, and understand, you have a good understanding, pat yourself on the back when you are having the lows, So, like I say, they're just as common as the highs. And, a lot with the sporting analogy side of things, understanding your injuries. So that's, I think that's a really important one for anybody to be out there, if you can understand what's going on, if your body's not holding up in life, to understand that and know you're going to come out the other side, to the belief that you are coming out the side, I think is massive, mate. So that's a really good one. The next one's uncontrollable situation, uncontrollable things in your life that you deal with, and especially in this day and age, it's a pretty big one.
Yeah, I was talking to my coach, and my coach is probably one of my best mates. We get on very well, and we discuss a lot of things, whether from not away from the track, lifestyle, mindset. He's massive on that, and being a dual Olympian himself, he comes from a wealth of knowledge in these particular avenues. And I asked him, what mindset tips would you give, not just me, but someone walking past you on the street, whether that be a sports person, whether that be a professional, whether that be a mum of two, who knows who that might be, what would you give them as a tip? And he just, got to the point and straight up was, understand that you can't control the uncontrollable. Too often, a lot of our mindset and a lot of our energy that we apply to things mentally is wasted when we try and worry and get anxious about the uncontrollables, And I touched briefly before on external factors, not being consistent and maybe hindering your dedication, maybe hindering your motivation, because, nothing in life is ever too easy. But a lot of that is uncontrollable things. Things pop up, and that's the fact of life. And those uncontrollables can really be curveballs, and they always often come when you least expect them, and always at the most inopportune moment. But wasting that mentality, wasting that mindset and that energy on the uncontrollables can often be really consuming. and is never a productive way to utilize your time and to utilize that mindset. And that's been a massive thing for me. Being a, relatively young guy, like Glenn said, and being high up in sport where I've been able to deliver myself to, I'm also a full-time student on the side. I work with brands like Young Living. I work with a lot of business professionals in that space. And, that's a lot of stuff going on all at once. And it can often be, quite an overwhelming package deal. But one of the best things I've been able to do is realize I can't control the uncontrollable. Things are going to be what they be, and that has really been a relief. That has relieved a lot of the stress, the anxiety, the struggles of my mentality in sport, in life, in a lot of things. And, often I get a lot of praise from my peers and my coaching staff and my team for not being too stressed about things, for not letting things overwhelm me, and to really trying to unpack things as I encounter them. And that has been in part to realistically understanding and compartmentalizing the stuff that I can't control. And I've written down here that what defeats the most athletes' mindsets, from my peers, are their inability to cope with being unable to control the uncontrollable. It's a massive thing. It is consuming, and there's been quite a few athletes in recent times that I've seen, and unfortunately so, given COVID, especially, whether they be in a bad run of form or towards the end of their career, they've brought forward their retirement and made decisions based on stuff like COVID that has ensured that the uncontrollable circumstances really dictated what their decision-making processes were. And, that's really sad to see. And I think, COVID might've been the last straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people. And that's really unfortunate. And, I'm not here to preach to everybody that what to do with their lives, but yeah, for me personally, I very quickly came to the conclusion that, okay, Tokyo's been postponed, only a couple months into trying to qualify for it, and pretty confident that I would. That's been postponed, and my lifelong dream might not happen. It might be just pushed forward a year. Who knows? It might not go on, but that's an uncontrollable event that unfortunately I'm not able to change, and I haven't allowed that to consume me. And I just got on with my life. I got stuck in a uni. Here I am, working closely with Young Living and trying to help them, really help people's lives with their awesome products. And that's just been something else I could divert my attention to. So for me personally, I was able to make sure that the circumstances that were out of reach or unavoidable were going to be that way. So yes, when they're unavoidable, they will be, regardless of your effort or your worry. Letting them control you, letting them control your decisions as well, or your mentality is a waste of time. And you need to be able to really unpack what you want to focus your time and energy to. And that's a big one. Going back to being motivated, being dedicated, being determined, working smarter, not harder is another great little, buzzword little quote that a lot of people might have heard before, but it realistically is a great little motto to have in your toolkit, because you want to be able to apply that energy, that thought process, and that effort where it's required and where it's needed. And when it's uncontrollable circumstances, then allocate the relative amount of energy and decision making to that, and don't overcommit. Commit to things that are your strengths. Don't overwork your weaknesses. Make sure that you're really being positive and constructive and working to your strengths and applying energy where it's most required. So yeah, that was my discussion with my coach about not getting too fussed about the uncontrollable circumstances that you might encounter in your day-to-day lives. And I think, again, that's a multifaceted approach, and that's just not sport. That's for everybody, whether they be 9 years old or 90. I think a lot of things can be really consuming and really tiring, and they don't have to be if you can really unpack what is controllable and uncontrollable. So yeah.
That's great, mate. Yeah, well, one of my favourite sayings to my mother-in-law is, especially is worries like trying to cross the road on a rocking horse. You don't get anywhere. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's right. So it's very good lesson, I reckon. So control what you can do and just let the rest go. And like I say, just compartmentalise it and go through the process to deal with it. The last one, mate, relaxation versus anxiety versus stress in your sport. I mean, there'd be a lot of that, especially in the arenas and what's going on there and the people you surround yourself with in that environment.
Yeah, like I've kind of touched on briefly tonight, this is really the creme de la creme of mindset. And I think this, again, comes down to really understanding yourself and unpacking things that you're doing. And, this has really helped me in sport, especially given that, again, that 10 seconds at the Olympics is a lot of years of work to get there. And I've been in similar situations with thousands of people in crowds watching you perform an event, and it's over very quickly. And it's not a footy game that lasts for 80 minutes. It's over in 10 seconds. So, I've touched on this quite a bit with sports psychologists, especially because this is often a weakness of people, and when approached appropriately, it can be weaponized very quickly. And it can be a massive part of your toolkit. And if you can really unpack this particular aspect, then you've really got a performance mindset and an elite mindset at that. So, yeah, like Glenn said, relaxation versus anxiety versus stress is what I've written down as my header for this little segment. And, this was a big one for me. I think, going into sport for fun and then getting good at it, and then all of a sudden becoming world class at it. And then again, you're in front of massive crowds. That comes with a lot of stress. Representing your country comes with a lot of stress, and stress is a massive killer. Stress is probably, it's not just in sport. It affects everybody in some way, shape or form. And it's a toxic thing and can really hurt your body and your mind. So we want to completely annihilate stress and make sure that we're not, in that negative bracket, in the red when it comes to that mentality and letting things consume you, whether they be controllable or uncontrollable. If you stress about them, you've already lost because you're not letting yourself think clearly. You're not letting yourself perform clearly. And I know personally, if I stress about an event, if I stress while I'm running, I tense up and it's lost before I've even got to the finish line. So, for me, it's a massive killer, and I can't let it consume me. But the other two little topics, relaxation and anxiety, those are the things that we try and look at and really unpack and weaponize when it comes to our mindset going into events, going into conversations, relationships, going into projects at work. That these are things that we can really look to make our friend and add to our toolkit. And this is a really hard thing to unpack, because a lot of anxiety, a lot of performance anxiety, a lot of those kind of words and feelings can often be associated as negative connotations, and they can be because when they're put in the same kind of when they're synonymous with stress, and when they're put in the same kind of sentence as stress, then yes, they are negatives, and we don't want them to consume us. But I've been fortunate enough to really get in touch with my mindset and with my event and sport and working with professionals in that avenue, and being delivered to the point where I've been able to weaponize my anxiety. And I've learned that while nerves may be bad, anxiety can be a very good thing. When I run, I want to be relaxed and not tense. Like I said, if I'm relaxed, then I can, really reach those technical positions. And I like to say sprinting is poetry in motion. And when I'm relaxed, I can really find those technical cues. But weaponizing that anxiety is an important aspect of sport and life. And it's being able to direct it in the right situation. I think, 100 meters, 10 seconds, massive event, whether that be nationals, the Oceania Championships, World Championships, or the Olympics. It's over in 10 seconds. Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety building up. You and 7 guys are on the line. It's a race to get to the other end. It's very head to head. It's very quantitative. There's no one else to lean on when you're out there. It's very anxious and nervy thing. But that energy can be transferred. And I know personally, I transfer it into my running. I transfer it into my muscles. So they're quicker. They're more reactive. I'm anticipating that it's a massive thing coming up, and that activates my fight or flight. Really unlocking those natural responses to things is a great thing to be able to do. And it really shows some very deep understanding of your own mentality. And if I can unlock that, specifically flight response, and get moving all of a sudden, then you beauty, then I've realistically been able to weaponize my anxiety. And so I've written down here that the true reaction enables the body and mind to be as in sync as possible, and enables your performance to replicate what you drill and train for each and every day. So yeah, when it comes to mindset, putting in that work and being consistent. If you get overwhelmed, call it a day. All that work was for nothing. But if you can weaponize that anxiety, be relaxed, be in the moment, not anticipate what's to come, not regret what's been, just accept the fact that what is happening, you're able to replicate what you've drilled, what you've worked so hard to achieve up until that point. I think that's a great thing I've learned over the years of doing what I do. I've written here, being able to cope with the stresses of high level performance is a skill. And that's not just high level sport, high level, whatever you're doing in life. If you want to do it to a high level, being able to cope with the stress is very much a skill. Most are unprepared for that skill, but it can be trained just as well as working in the gym or whatever. Like I said before, the muscle between the ears can be trained just as much as all the other muscles. And, really training that stress response is a big part of that. And I think that's a massive tool that if you get to that high performance level of mindset, then you can really start to unlock it. I also in here, anxiety is a tool. When harvested appropriately, it can reap you tremendous results. Redirected anxiety can improve results and ability as it triggers natural response techniques. Being comfortable and understanding of the gravity of your situation is how to successfully harness that anxiety to better your performance. And again, that comes back to compartmentalizing things, unpacking things, understanding why you're there, what you've done to deliver yourself to this point, the work you've done in preparation. And once you've given your best away from the eyes of everybody else, when you've worked hard and been dedicated to that point, you are more than likely, should be confident in your ability. You more than likely, should be performing well. And the only reason why you would not is if you discount yourself, if you're hoping because you've already accepted that it's not going to be, or if your stress consumes you and you aren't able to perform. So being able to redirect that anxiety into that into that realm of competition or realm of whatever you're endeavoring upon is what's going to deliver you to those successful results. And I know for me, I run my best at big events. If I raced here down the road tomorrow, I wouldn't run an Olympic level time. But if I'm at the Olympics, then I'm, almost certain that I will rise to the occasion and compete with the best sprinters in the world. I know for a fact that in the past, when I have raced against the fastest men in the world, I've risen to that opportunity and delivered results. And that's what's been able to deliver me where I am today. And that's part of being able to redirect that anxiety. And I'll just finish up here with anxiety is different to nerves. If you allow your nerves to consume you, which is a lot to do with stress, then you've already undone all your hard work. Being afraid of success can be a massive detriment. Trust and being confident in your ability. And I think that's a lot of people's responses to things. They've done the work. They know they've done the work. They've been dedicated. They've worked hard away from the scenes. They've given their best in everything they can do. But when the time comes, they're afraid of that success. They're afraid of delivering that final little dip over the finish line. That's a lot of performance anxiety. And that unfortunately comes down to a lot of stress and a lot of internal factors of mindset. But, if you're able to again, unpack that, if you're able to trust your ability, if you're able to trust your hard work, then you're able to redirect that anxiety and weaponize that anxiety. And, you're confident in your ability and it'll deliver you to your results. So that's my bit on stress versus anxiety versus relaxation. I think, that there's a lot to be unpacked there, but basically the old tidbit, don't get stressed. Use relaxation to deliver you to all the hard work you've done and weaponize that anxiety so that you understand the position you're in, understand the severity of what you're doing and deliver the outcome like your life depends on it. Get yourself to that success. Yeah.
That sounds great, mate. We've got a whole heap of oilers on here, mate. So the one question they will be asking, we know peppermint's your really absolute up and go get 'em oil. That's the one that really focuses in the zone. What sort of say oils do you use to just relaxation, mate, when you need to sort of calm things down and get it back on the back burner?
Yeah, I think, we had a quick chat about this afternoon. Like I said before, the beauty of Young Living, especially their bread and butter, their essential oils, there's something for everybody. And, the beauty of aromatherapy is a lot of people respond to things in different ways. And, thanks to Young Living, there's a whole host of aromas out there. Personally, my, day-to-day usage one would be Stress Away. It's literally, it's the name of the bottle. It's a great one. I put it in bars. I put it in my diffuser. I use it topically. Just when it's consistent like that, it reminds my body to just, let be what is being. And, like I said before, I've got a lot on my plate and it can again be overwhelming. And I utilize tools like my oils to really alleviate that. And, Stress Away is a massive one for that. We have a whole host of oils on our shelf that we use in varying capacities, and a lot of those therapeutic oils in the diffuser I associate with alleviating stress and calming down. And purification, a lot of the citrus like smells, a lot of the grass type meadowy smells. Sacred Mountain is a great one. That stuff like that. Those really rich aromas really get me in that kind of zone and allow me to alleviate some stress and calm down. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, Sacred Mountain is a special one, mate. That seems to resonate with a lot of the men for some reason. But yeah, Gary's story behind that one takes me back to the mountains, as Andrew will know. Well, we got is if anybody got any questions I'd like to ask Jake, I think, I really enjoyed that, and I've got a lot out of it, especially for a 20-year-old come out to the event. So I think you're doing an amazing job, mate, and we can take something out of it. So has anybody got any questions while we're still on, or?
I've got a quick one.
Yep.
Jake, can you just give me the distinction between nerves and anxiety? If you can give like an example of what's the difference between those two?
Yeah, like I kind of touched on a lot of these kind of buzzwords, and yeah, you're right in saying that nerves and anxiety can be very synonymous, and just as synonymous as they can be as with stress. It comes down to a lot of the connotations we attach to them. So just as much as we can say stress is a bad thing, and I continue regardless, I think stress is a horrible thing because it's literally a chemical response with cortisol. Those negative connotations can extend to both nerves and anxiety. But I draw this distinction. I think a lot of time nerves can be a physiological response. Like literally we have nerves in our body, and I have nerve pain or whatever. Anxiety and nerves, I draw a line because I want to be able to attach connotations to certain words, and I weaponize my anxiety because, you get buzz phrases like performance anxiety. You don't really hear much of performance nerves, and people get nerves because they get nervous about a lot of things, and that nervousness tends to be at its root anxiety. So it's really trying to unpack things, and in my dealings with certain individuals in these kind of spaces, whether they be other professional athletes or psychologists, getting to the root of things is what really interests me, and that's how I've been able to unpack and again weaponize certain mindset tools. So say I was nervous for an event, I had nerves for a speech at school, whatever it may be. At the root of that was my anxiety. Whether that be to stand up in front of my classmates, my anxiety to stand up in front of my classmates, my anxiety to not perform in that race. And so that's really where I really want to, try and attack is that root problem. And if I can divert that connotation and divert that energy to a positive response, like when I say weaponizing my anxiety, and that comes down to understanding why I'm nervous about something and why I'm anxious about something is because of the size of the situation. I can then divert that energy into a positive response and get more out of my body and perform at a high level because my focus is raised, my energy, my anticipation is raised, my fight or flight response might get activated, and yeah, that's where I try and draw that line and really isolate things.
Yep. So what I'm thinking of there is that and from, if I'm correct in what you're saying, is that the anxiety basically comes first. So let's say I want to get up on stage to speak. I'm having all this anxiety and anxiousness go through my mind, and that might change into I'm starting to shake. So that's the nervousness starting to happen into a physical manifestation, but it all starts back in my mind through that anxiety that I'm having about getting up on stage.
Exactly.
So if we can capture that anxiety first, convert that, it's not going to then progress onto that nervousness that...
Exactly. It doesn't deliver you to nerves. It delivers you to, again, like I said, that amped focus, that amped situational awareness, and that amped effort level. So yeah, it's just about directing that energy focus, and that's, again, cause and effect.
Cool. Thank you.
That's fantastic, mate. Tell yourself another story. From what I got from that is actually redirect the story into a positive event, and instead of a negative, get better self-talk and turn it into a positive event, you'll have a better outcome. I like it. It's very good.
Exactly.
Learning a lot already. If there's no more questions, I'd just like to thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for being a part of it. We will be following Jake's journey as he goes. We'll find out his results as we go, and very excited for him to, as he gets on with all his training and the events coming up in Canberra and all that sort of thing. So in Brisbane, so what events do eventuate in this uncertain times, we'll definitely be all over it if we can, mate. So thank you very much for your time. We will get another one going next month, so we'll stay tuned. And if you've got anything that you really want to for Jake to let us know. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you next month. And much appreciated, Jake, Andrew. Good to see you, Shane and Paul. So Tony, all the guys. So we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for coming. Fantastic afternoon. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
See you, mate.